What's up, guys? So this is going to be a pretty basic dark web. Ooh, dark web, so spooky. Basic dark web tutorial. Dark web, deep web, etc., etc. Actually, guys, first and foremost, I would like to let you guys know that there is a difference between the dark web and the deep web. So to our normal friends, dark web and deep web, they're synonymous, like they're the same, but there is actually a difference. So the deep web is really just part of the same internet that you and I use every day on a regular basis. It's just that the sites that are included in the quote unquote deep web, they're all unindexed. And what does that mean? That just means that if I go to like Google search for something, or I go to like a search engine, there's nothing indexed that's going to be able to point you to go and find these sites. There used to be, or you used to be able to do that back in the day before Google became, well, not so great. But anyway, that's kind of a topic for a different day. Now, the dark web actually is something a little bit different. And so if I pinch my nose and say,
well, what is the dark web, you might ask?
Let's take a look at good old Tulane University, good old Tulane in Louisiana, what they have to say about it. The dark web is known to have begun in the year 2000 with the release of Freenet, all right? And Freenet was created by this dude named Ian Clark over here, guys, and he set out to create a, quote, distributed, decentralized information storage and retrieval system. There you go, with the distributed and decentralized buzzwords right there. So this is kind of like a known fact. However, there are some other quote-unquote known facts that allude to other kind of, we'll say, agencies' involvement in creating the dark web. But also something to note too, guys, like I was saying earlier, the difference between the dark web and the deep web. So if you guys check out this little graph right here, I mean, surface web, so this represents about 5% total internet content, which honestly, most of us don't even utilize this 5% on a daily basis. The deep web is pretty much everything else, all that stuff that's not indexed. And then there's the dark web. And this is also like 5% of total internet content. And sites that exist within the deep web can only be accessed with a Tor browser, okay? And it's used for both legal and illegal purposes, like they say right there. And one thing I want to mention to you guys is it's not illegal to go to the dark web, all right? It's not illegal to use it. In fact, the CIA themselves, they have an Onion website on the dark web. A lot of places and news outlets actually use the dark web for things like whistleblowers who go and want to deliver information anonymously without being able to be tracked by anything or anybody. They have lots of websites. People go there and they like drop their information and hand it off, quote unquote, hand it off to people in news organizations, whatever. Now, there are lots of illegal things on the dark web. And if it is known that you are using the dark web, at least, and you go and use those things, and it's known that you're using those things, then that's a different story. And also, guys, just be wary. One thing I would say is that if you're using the dark web, chances are, I don't know what you guys would be doing on there. Maybe buying like things that you shouldn't be buying, like illicit substances, some wacky tobacco, if you know what I'm saying, or whatever. But most of the time, from lots of different things that and stories that people have told, the people that you have to worry about the most on the dark web are not law enforcement. It's other people, because people are crazy and people do some weird stuff. Okay, so first and foremost, most of you guys probably already know what the Brave browser is or have the Brave browser. You can use Brave browser to go to the dark web. Now, if you don't know what Brave is, you can go to brave.com/download. You get a page like this and you can go ahead and click whatever you need to download it. But if you have used Brave, this is what it's going to look like. This is what my Brave browser looks like. And all you have to do in order to access the dark web with Brave is, so I have a regular tab pulled up right here. If I just go to File and click New Private Window with Tor, click that guy. In the top left, it's going to say Tor successfully connected or connected successfully in green, then you know that you're good to go. And yeah, pretty much from here, I mean, you can do anything that you wanted to from the dark web. One thing that I will say is that I don't recommend people use Brave for using the dark web or going on the dark web. There's a couple reasons for that. But people can tell when you're using Brave because your user agent is going to look different to someone who's using like a proper Tor browser, okay? So we'll set that out there and let you guys know that also. It's doable, but it's probably going to look a little sus. As far as OPSEC, this is probably not what you want to use. That's all I got to say. All right, and that brings me to the Tor browser, and this is what Tor browser itself looks like. When you run the application for Tor browser, you can have it connect automatically. I don't do that, or you can just manually click this connect button every single time. And once you do that and it connects, it should be good to go. And if you wanted to download Tor browser, you could just go to like torproject.org. Here's what that looks like. It's not hard to find. Very easy to get. And yeah, now we're basically where we were with Brave, and we can kind of go and see whatever we want. But one thing I would mention is that it's kind of hard to navigate around in the dark web if you don't already know where you're going, all right? Now, I know it doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense at all, but hear me out and you'll probably understand. So if you're actually if you're actually connecting to an Onion site, an Onion site, .onion, instead of .com, .net, .edu, .whatever, all these Tor sites, all the sites in the dark web are going to have an extension of .onion afterwards. And these Onion sites, they're all made up of 54 random alphanumeric characters. So you're not really going to memorize all of these sites, okay? So how do you get around if you can't memorize all these different websites that contain 54 random alphanumeric characters? Well, that's a good question. That's why they have kind of like index sites and or like starter sites, okay? Now, a pretty common one that actually isn't going to connect or isn't a .onion site is tor.taxi. And if you check that out, this is basically what that looks like whenever it finishes loading. And here they kind of just give you like a list of a couple like pretty vanilla common places that you go and check out on the dark web. This is kind of like your starter path, okay? Trying to avoid looking as if you're doing something wrong, I wouldn't personally bookmark any of them. And tor.taxi is one of the easiest ones that you can remember. So what are some kind of tips for the dark web? There's this like common misconception that you need to use a VPN with Tor. That's like this really old thing that came from like around when I was in high school, and I don't know why that was a thing, but you guys don't have to believe me. That's fine. I'll tell you guys that using a VPN with a Tor, you're not going to get any kind of like extra privacy benefits, okay? Debate me if you want. That's fine. It's really not going to do you much of any good, all right? So there's that, because people always think that they need to use a VPN when they're using Tor. Another thing is you probably are going to want to disable JavaScript in your browser. Tor browser is pretty easy to do. You just go in like the top right hand of the corner, and if you go under like settings and search JavaScript, it'll actually bring you to like 3 different levels of security, and the highest level of security is going to remove JavaScript. You can just check that, and that'll help you a lot. The reason why you don't want to have JavaScript enabled, or rather the reason that you want to have it disabled in your browser, is to prevent yourself from getting anything malicious installed on your computer. Another thing is, don't message anybody on here. The craziest thing that you need to worry about, or the most dangerous thing you need to worry about, is like interacting with people on here, because strange people tend to linger in this area of the internet, all right? So just be advised. Definitely don't send anybody your address to anyone in here. I don't know what you guys would do with the dark web, but if you were like buying some wacky tobacco or something, I would not get it shipped to your address. I don't know. It just seems like a terrible idea to me. It just seems like a terrible idea. But hey, do whatever you want. This is your life, right? And just be wary, guys. There are things on here that are illegal. So if you accidentally go down like a wrong rabbit hole and you end up interacting or seeing something that is literally illegal to see, well, that's your fault for not being cautious enough, okay? If you're gonna go use it, have a specific reason to use it. If it's for like information that you want to go and research, then stick on that pathway. Don't go off on these like random tangents.